Hi, all, and welcome to episode 14 of Plain Speaking Sanjiv. Today, I'm going to speak to you about a very special livery that was tried by British Airways back in 1997. It was called the World Tales livery. Here's one example on a 747, and a second example again on a 747. As you all know, it's my favorite aircraft. This one here was called Wunala Dreaming, and this one here, Nalanji Dreaming. These were both based on Australian Aboriginal art and were on the aircraft for a couple of years. These were two of maybe 20, 25 odd liveries or tail art that British Airways had put together under Bob Ailing, who was the CEO back then. The idea was to project to the world that British Airways, though a British airline, the word British is very much there in the front, was a world carrier and served countries around the world and was sensitive to cultures and recognized that they were a global carrier, not just a British carrier. The idea was well received by all art critics and aficionados and aviation geeks, etc., but unfortunately was not popular with the more conservative British establishment. Famously, former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher put her handkerchief on top of the tails of one of these aircraft models at some event, saying that they were awful. And Bob Ailing came under a lot of pressure that time to say, look, you're a British airline, your core customer is British. This is just diluting the Britishness of the airline, and it's a big mistake. Eventually, the poor designer, the marketing head who was responsible for the design, had to actually leave the airline, due to the protests and the outrage. And under Rod Eddington, the next CEO, they finally decided to retire this lovely scheme and instead go with what was known as the Chatham Dockyard livery, which is the stylized British flag on the tail, which has become the standard livery now. Now, what is a takeaway from this? A takeaway from this is that airline liveries actually evoke a lot of sentiment and emotion in people, which is why they're something to be taken seriously. They are something that signifies what the brand is all about. And when making liveries or changing liveries, one has to be very thoughtful about all the stakeholders and plan accordingly. So, hope you enjoyed that. See you again tomorrow. Take care.